Good morning, Kentucky. It is a beautiful Monday morning here. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend, a nice and safe, socially distant, mask-wearing weekend. I know the farmers market in Lexington was very busy, so that is very nice to see. We had a lot of farmers sell out, so it is beautiful during all this craziness to see people still showing up. We have a lovely guest here today. I will introduce you to Ford Waterstrat from Sustainable Harvest Farm out of London, Kentucky. How you doing, Ford?
I'm great. Nice to see you today, Bethany.
Nice to see you too. So tell us a little bit about how your farm got started.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to keep it short and sweet, but I'll do my best. But yeah, so I didn't have any agricultural background. First got married and moved to Georgetown, Kentucky, and I was a school teacher, needed a summer job, and so I happened to volunteer at a great organic farm, and kind of got my start there about 13 years ago, and then slowly but surely saved up enough money to buy some land and equipment, and then kept teaching for 11 and a half years. And then I think 5 years ago, I stopped teaching the farm full time, and it's been pretty good for the most part. There's definitely challenges to being in agriculture, but it's a wonderful occupation most days, and I'm able to be at home with my family and get to work with a bunch of great people and get to be outside enjoying the creation. So it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And you said, we were just talking before this, you had said that you were a health and PE teacher. So that's a big jump from health and PE to farming.
Yes, yeah. It's there's even a little further backstory on that, but I won't share all that. But I was a competitive athlete that fortunately got into teaching as a backup gig, and was very fortunate. But yeah, long. It's been a crazy journey, but it's all good.
So I know that you guys have organic certification, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what was the decision process in terms of moving your farm in that direction and wanting to focus on that?
Honestly, I give credit to the farm that I used to work for. They were certified organic, and it just seemed like the best way to go. And my parents are West Coast hippies, so we just kind of had an environmentally sensitive family, so it just kind of fell into place. And we didn't really do anything else. So I just was fortunate to have some good mentors that's what they did. So I kind of fell in line with it.
Yeah, that's really nice. You didn't have to do much. You were kind of already doing that in the first place. So
yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your CSA membership process. So how many weeks do you get with it? What kind of, can you do a family of 4 or can you just do for 2 people? That kind of thing.
Yeah, you bet. So I think one of the things I love most about our CSA is it's fully customizable each week with a really great software platform that we use, so folks can, customize at their will, pending crop availability. But this time of the year we have, I think there's something like 20 something different varieties of crops that are available this week.
Oh my gosh.
We're very fortunate, but we have 3 sizes, kind of like a lot of farms in the region. We have a small, medium, and our small, large, and extra large, and all that pricing can be seen on our website. And it's a 22-week long season. We've kind of gone back and forth as far as how many weeks we've had, depending on how young our children are.
That's understandable.
Yeah. But now I'm farming full time. We do it, 22 weeks, and then we really try to, I wouldn't say slow down in the winter, but not have we need a little bit of a break in the winter. So we don't do a fall winter CSA any longer. We're just really focusing on trying to do a terrific job for the May to October growing season. But it's great, and the customization's terrific. Along with the customization, you get some great recipes that go with every share and storage tips, and we have a great online network of folks that are all kind of posting. We have a private Facebook group where everyone's kind of sharing creative ideas and cooking ideas and what they did with their stuff. So it's really great. We're super thankful for the support of our customers.
And that's lovely too, because the first thing I learned at the Food Connection was to cut the greens off of my carrots. But before that, I had no idea they would wilt so fast. I would not get to eat them in time. So being able to see all those kind of storage chips and everything, that's a really good extra product to have with your CSA membership. And you and I had been talking about that you can do kind of like a week-to-week basis. You don't have to do a full commitment to a CSA membership. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So once we reach full capacity, we open up the week to week. You can just join like a week at a time if you'd like. Kind of not as a full membership, but just and some people that works really well for, they can just sign up for 1 week and not sign up again for a couple more weeks till they're back in town or something like that. But not to get into the weeds on that, but you just go to our Sustainable Harvest Farm website and then click on sign up here, and it takes you to the software portal. And then once you go to software portal, you just click on sign up here for Farm Stand, which is more of the week to week delivery. And it's really cool. You can put in your information once and like all your preferences. And then when you see a week that you're like, hey, that stuff looks really good, I want to buy some of that, you just click buy, and you don't have to refill out all your information every time. And I think it even holds your credit card information, which we only use when you're buying stuff. But yeah. So it's a really slick thing. I mean, we definitely prefer to have members sign up for the entire season because it takes we need that main support, the commitment throughout the growing season. But since we're no longer selling at farmers markets, we just thought it was a good fit for people that want to get vegetables just kind of ad hoc. So it's been great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you guys have completely sold out of your CSA membership for this season, correct?
Yeah, correct. But so now that the summer season's kind of hit and we've got an abundance of, crops, we have opened it back up. I think we put a cap at like 25 more members, but the crops are looking really good and we've had people wanting to join. So we opened it back up. We haven't really publicized it because there's been people kind of wanting to join, but we do have room if you're interested in joining, and let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, we will be sure to put the website and the Facebook page in the comments in a little bit, just so that people can, explore all of that, see if they want to do the weekly option that we talked about, or maybe hop on the wait list or get one of those 25 spots. And then especially for next year, if you guys want to get ahead of the schedule and be sure to get a spot before it all fills up. But that is a great problem to have during all this craziness, is to completely fill up your CSA. So where else can we find you guys?
Yeah. Great question. And I guess we have I can't remember how many drop-off points around the Lexington area, and then, Richmond and Bree and all that stuff too. But so you can find our products in, at our CSA share, delivery locations. And then you can also find some of our products at the Whole Foods there in Lexington. We're just fortunate to finally jump through all the hoops officially the last couple of weeks and selling them stuff. Occasionally Good Foods is not supporting local farmers as much as they used to, but that's all good. No hard feelings. But in Lexington, just off the top of my head, I think that's the main place is our CSA, and then at Whole Foods. Occasionally Good Foods a little bit. Yeah. And one thing I didn't get to mention about our CSA that I'm proud of is we partner also with a dairyman in our local community down here, and you get fresh cheese every week, which is just some terrific cheese. You can find their cheese at Good Foods and a couple other places in Lexington. But yeah, Wildcat Mountain Cheese, they're good friends of ours and been dairymen. They're like fourth generation or something like that. But
oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a nice little bonus in there too. Okay. And then also, so what are people getting in their CSA boxes this week, or what do they have to look forward to the next couple weeks?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. Someone asked me that same question the other day, and I was like, I can't remember all of them, but just kind of off the top of my head. And I just feel super thankful. I mean, it's been a good growing season for us, but we got right now the guys are out picking lettuce and kale, chard, cherry tomatoes, regular tomatoes, green tomatoes, bell peppers, eggplant, carrots, fennel, onions, potatoes, squash, zucchini, cucumbers. Cantaloupe just started coming in today. Watermelon should be ready next week. Sweet corn, although I'm not that proud of our sweet corn, the first picking is going to be ready for next week. Broccoli, cabbage, some other green stuff.
We're hitting like the peak of crop season too, aren't we? I mean, we're getting all of the good stuff right now.
Yeah, it's terrific, and it's just so much to keep up with. It's like, we got this coming in. You got to, and vegetables.
It's hard to keep track when you have so much.
Yeah. It's a controlled chaos for sure. But yeah, and also about our CSA, we want to mention we have 100% satisfaction guarantee. I mean, occasionally we will make a mistake, mispack a share. I mean, when you're customizing 300 something orders and 20 different crops, we're bound to make a mistake. But another cool thing with the software is if you get something that's not 100% good, let us know. We'll create a credit in your profile, and you can use that to buy something the next week. Or if we goof up packing something, please let us know as soon as possible, and we'll give you a credit for that. But we definitely over the years realized that if our customers aren't happy, we're not in business. And we're actually the first farm in Kentucky and maybe in the region to offer customization. All of us kind of made that transition at the same time, but and we can't go back now because customers deserve it. Because I always used to tell myself, I was like, I would not sign up for my CSA because I don't want kohlrabi. That's another we got this week, kohlrabi. So I was like, I totally get it. My customers don't want this stuff, so we, fortunate to partner up with a company that did all this customization for us because I sure don't know how to run software stuff.
No, that's interesting that you say that, because one of the things we always talk about is cooking with kohlrabi or beets or whatever people get in their CSA that is not something that you usually encounter. And it's how to cook it and how to make it taste good and all that stuff. So that is very interesting. And that's a nice, if you don't like any kind of surprises, you can do customization with Sustainable Harvest Farms. So that is really nice. I will bring Chef Tanya in because she would love to see you. Hi, Chef Tanya.
Hi.
Hey, yeah.
Hi, Ford. How are you?
Great. Good to
Been
see
listening to the conversation. One thing, more than anything, thank you for joining us today. I know you're super busy. I know you and your whole family and all of the people who work on your farm are really doing a lot of work right now, especially now that we're in peak season. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Also, I wanted to recognize you. The nursing College of Nursing here at UK was recognizing all of the medical frontline people for staying at work and keeping everyone as healthy as possible. And now they're also recognizing all of our farmers. So we have a campaign called Heart to Heart, and this wants to recognize all of our farmers as frontline workers. You guys are out there, you're masking up, you're putting all kinds of safety stuff in place so you stay safe with one another and that your customers stay safe. So we wanted to say thank you for continuing to work during this pandemic and bring fresh, wonderful local produce to our plates while we're going through this.
Well, thanks.
Our heart goes out to you. And now I know, oh, did I interrupt you? Yes.
Oh, I was just saying my guys fight those face masks every day. I'm like, guys, put them on. They're like, oh, it's so hot. I'm like,
it's hot.
We got to keep people safe.
Have a face mask on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really do appreciate it. And today we're going to use a lot of what you mentioned, Ford. I've got tomatoes, bell peppers, squash, zucchini, little bulb onions, and we're going to a little cheese. So it's nice. So the people getting their shares this week might want to take note. This is a family-friendly recipe. It's easy to get the kids involved. I know when you came into our kitchen last year, your three boys helped us make a squash and zucchini spiralized salad, and it was beautiful and delicious. And so you can really get the family involved in this. So I think we may have already posted recipes, Bethany, or they will go up during this broadcast.
Yeah. I'm about to put those in the comments right now.
Okay. All right. They'll go up during this broadcast. So if anybody has a share from any farm, but particularly Sustainable Harvest, you want to pay attention to these recipes because it's a great way to incorporate a lot of your veg from this share. So Ford, we're going to let you sink into the background. You can hang around, or if you need to go, we understand. But if you do hang around, feel free to chat with us. People usually ask questions or might want to talk to you, and we'll see that. Bethany will see that in the Facebook comments. I won't. But hang around with us if you want, or slip off to your farm, and we're going to get cooking. It's great to see you. Oh,
sorry.
Great to see
that was a little quick. If anyone has any questions or anything, pop them in the comments. I will be sure to answer them. And yeah, be sure to turn notifications on because we are here pretty much every Monday. So come see us do a little demo. So I will let you go.
Okay, I'm going to start today. Today we're going to do some squash quesadillas. It's a wonderful way to get lots of these veggies into a meal. And I know sometimes some of you may struggle the rest of your family. If you're the one whose idea it was to get a CSA share, like how do you get them to eat it? So I think quesadillas are a good way to start. A lot of kids like quesadillas. But first, we're going to throw together the accoutrements to our quesadillas. We're going to make a salsa first. So Ford will be putting cherry tomatoes and regular tomatoes into his shares this week. I am going to just cut up, I have full-size striped Romas with me, and I am just going to take the core out of them. I think if you've seen us before, you've seen me take the cores out. I like to just take the stem off and then have the tomato. If there's any little bit of core left, I'll try to turn around so you can see this. I just make a little divot, like a little chevron, and take that out. So typically try not to cut toward yourself, but just take out that core. And you can do this even with big tomatoes. Of course, if you have cherry tomatoes in your share this week, you don't even have to worry about coring your tomatoes. I'm gonna cut up about 3 big Romas. Aren't they lovely with their stripes? You want to get these into manageable sizes, and you want to make sure you have a stable surface. So that's why I like to have them. And then I'm just going to cut these halves into slices. And normally I also like to use little prep bowls, but this week, since this is a salsa, a fresh pico de gallo kind of salsa, I'm just going to go right into my bowl. Now I sort of eye this. Everybody likes salsa differently. Some people like a lot of tomato. You know, I like to have, especially when it's the time for homegrown tomatoes to come out, I love for the tomato to come through. So I'm going to use quite a bit of tomato. We will also be slicing up a tiny little homegrown little candy onion. We have some jalapenos and bell peppers. Have a lovely purple bell pepper, you'll see in just a moment. And if there are little spots, or if there are little cracks where the tomato may have burst because of a heavy rainfall, you want to go ahead and cut those out. Those are open, they're like open wounds, and bacteria can get in there. So if you do have cracks or holes, you do want to cut those bits out as you're cutting up your tomato. I'm going to get on the stick here. I'm talking too much. We will just dice up these. If anybody has not heard the Guy Clark song Homegrown Tomatoes, I urge you to go to YouTube and look that up real quick, because it's a great song. And anytime we hit tomato season, it starts going through my head. Yes, I do know a lot of songs that have to deal with food. Sometimes chefs end up looking for those songs. I remember back in the kitchen at the restaurant, we used to just put foods in the search engine and see what songs came up. All right. That's good enough for our uses today, actually. So I'll stop right there with my tomatoes. That's a good amount. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that with a little salt, and that will make those tomatoes give off all of their water, and it'll make our salsa nice and juicy. Here's that beautiful purple bell pepper. Now, if you get one of these and you are cooking it, we're going to cook one of them. Don't be disappointed, it will turn back to green. But when you keep it raw, it does keep that lovely purple color. And I'm just going to pull out the ribs on this. And then, if you've seen this before, I like to smash it and get it into, again, manageable sizes. And we're going to dice that up real quick. I do like a green bell pepper. It's got that little hint of bitterness in it that is a nice background to all of these sweet, tangy tomatoes and the acidic lime juice. It's a great foil to all the other stuff that's in here. And I probably will do this other piece as well, just eyeing it. There are measurements in the recipe, but make this salsa your own. I like a lot of cilantro. Some people can't stand cilantro. It tastes like soap to them, so you might want to leave the cilantro out. So there's our bell pepper. And then I have these tiny little candy onions that I'm gonna dice up. And that is our 3-step process of slicing horizontally, but not all the way through. And then using the tip of our knife to make little sticks that are all held together. And then when I cut those little sticks apart, I get a beautiful little dice. We're just gonna toss that, and we'll chop this up a little bit more. That was my end that didn't get sliced all the way through. And I did this half by half because I'm gonna toss that in. This is raw onion. Now the acid and everything will start to break those cells down a little bit. There we go. I think that's a good amount right there. So we'll just use that half. And now I'm going to, with wet hands, try to get gloves on because the jalapeno is next. This is the season. If you want to do any kind of sort of Tex-Mex, Southwestern kind of cooking or Italian cooking, now is your time. We have tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, squash. Anybody's a big ratatouille fan, now is the time for that as well. Although eggplant is just now really starting to come in. But I did see some this weekend. I'm sure Bethany can comment on that as well. A lot of people who grow herbs will have basil right now and cilantro. That's why we're doing this as well. So you want to put gloves on when you're handling any kind of chili peppers because the heat from chili peppers comes from capsaicin, and that is in the oils that are in the pepper, and they are highly concentrated.
And
Yes.
do not think that you will be fine and don't wear gloves, because I have done that recently. And then I rubbed my eye after washing my hands and still, yeah, if you can find gloves or find something, just make sure you do that.
Yes. Yeah, it is an oil, so it doesn't just come off with soap and water. You may actually want to use some spirits, some alcohol, like take a little vodka and rub your hands, and that will help get it off. Some people have even said soaking in milk. I think that's just cooling, but it is an oil, and that is concentrated in all these little ribs and seeds. So if you don't like your stuff too hot, but you like a little bit of that jalapeno, just take the ribs and seeds out. And also be cognizant, you're going to get those oils on this board. So you might want to leave that for the last thing that you do. And I have not done that today, but so do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to put about half of this jalapeno in here. And what you see, I've cut these little strips really small so that I can get a teeny tiny mince. And I'm going to run my knife through it again with that move we love. So you can see every one of these vegetables I'm adding is kind of a different size, and that's because that's how I sort of like them to hit my palate. And you can see we're starting to get a lot of juice from the tomatoes here. It's starting to smell so good. Now, I like a little garlic in my pico. Not everybody does this. But I'm just going to mince up one clove, actually just one clove here. And I'm continuing to use my gloves for right now. I've got another cutting board and knife behind me. We'll grab that in just a minute. But since I have cut that pepper on here, and like Bethany says, you don't want to touch any sensitive areas like your eyes until you get the pepper off your hands. It's like a chemical burn. What happens? Capsaicin actually is great. They're looking at it, they're researching it for some therapeutic options as an anti-inflammatory. And actually they concentrate it down, and in that concentrated state, it is actually very dangerous to inhale, to touch, or to swallow. So that tells you something right there. So there's our garlic mince. And then the last thing is I'm gonna grab a big hunk. I've already pulled all the leaves off this bunch of cilantro, and I love cilantro. I could eat just a cilantro salsa. We're gonna roll these up a little bit, kind of pull them together, act like you know each other, and get in there close and kind of bunch them down. Don't bruise them, but you're just kind of holding them together. Still use your claw. And then we're just going to slice first. And we get little ribbons of cilantro. And if you like it that way, you can leave it that way. See how I didn't crush my cilantro. That's why it's bouncing. But I didn't crush my cilantro. And I'm doing my best not to get my fingers in the way. Watch your fingers when you do this. And then when you get it to this point, then the safest way would be to put your hand on the back of your knife and mince up this cilantro. Just get it all about the same size. And we're going to throw this in. Tons of cilantro. And we've got some left because we're going to put some on our slaw next. All right, so we're going to toss that together. The last little thing we need is a little lime juice. And I've got my juicer right here, or you could just ream it with your, or squeeze it with your hands, or ream it with a fork. You just jab a fork into it and twist while you squeeze. That helps. I like a lot of acidity in my salsa, so we're going to use both halves of this lime. And oh, that smell, I love that smell. Then we're going to taste, toss and taste. No, I seem to have dropped off of the...
Momentarily frozen.
I'm not getting any other...
I can just make the other... Oh, we might...
There we go. Okay.
There we go. Yeah. Perfect.
Maybe just a little internet problem here on campus. So I'm going to sprinkle with a little bit more salt, and then I'm going to give it a taste. And that is... I've got them right here. I had to move my tasting spoons a moment ago. Just give it a little taste. That is perfect. The salt and the acid are really balanced. I can taste a little bit of the jalapeno, but it's not blowing my mouth up. So this is how you want to do your salsa. At this point, if you want a little bit more of something, of course you can't do a little bit less, but if you want a little more acidity, or if you think it's maybe, if it's too acidic, you can always add more tomato and just kind of dilute it a little bit, but realize that's going to be very difficult. It's much easier to add than to take out. The cilantro is great. It's very cooling. So we're going to let that sit and get happy for a while. And then I'm going to turn this board over so that I don't have that jalapeno sitting on there. And I'm going to grab the kit for our slaw, which is really super simple. And again, I'm just going to go into a bowl with the cabbage and the pepper. You could also, if you have some little local carrots, you could shred them up and put them on here. Now, unlike greens, where you want to have a ton of greens and they cook down to a teeny tiny amount, with cabbage, you want to go the opposite way. I got this small cabbage because when you cut cabbage, it just grows and grows and grows. I don't know if that's been your experience, but this will make a lot. In fact, I will probably use either a half or a quarter of even this tiny head. Now, to get into this head, you want to hold it steady and just go ahead and split it in half. Actually, I'll use this smaller half. Now, you can see right here, the core is still intact. We're going to use that same method we did on the cores of the tomato. I'm just going to go in with my knife and make a divot. Just a triangular insertion, and take that out, toss that into my discard bowl. Now, again, you want manageable pieces. If I were to hack on this, it might get out of hand. So I'm going to cut this into quarters, and then all I'm going to do is just slice. Let me see if you can see that. Just slice, or you could also use the slicer attachment on your food processor. Now, when you notice when that piece got awkward for me, I just moved it around to keep turning it so that it doesn't wobble. When you wobble, that's dangerous, at least on a cutting board. So we're going to toss that into our bowl and then start on this second half. And you can see that's one tiny half of this cabbage, and it is making quite a bit of slaw. And I like doing these two things ahead first so they have time to sit together. Of course, fresh pico is best right when it's made, within a few hours of being made. It will sit, it is okay, but those tomatoes do really break down in that salt and acid. So I like to use pico within a few hours if I can. Not that I haven't eaten it a day or two later, because it is still delicious, even if the tomatoes have broken down. Now I'm just gonna slice this pepper because that's what we have today. You could, like I said, you can put anything in this you want. You can put a little more jalapeno if you like a lot of heat. I'm just slicing this pepper. If you have those little tiny peppers from the produce section, the little multicolored ones, this would be nice, and that would be beautiful, all that color. So we've got our purple and our green in here, and that's wonderful because all the seeds fall right out. I'm going to toss those away. Now, while I'm making my vinaigrette for the top of this, I am going to salt it. Lily, I've converted her over to slaw. She used to not like slaw, and this is my secret. You salt your cabbage. You kind of crush the salt into it, almost like you're making kraut. You're just not letting it sit out like you would kraut, but you're getting.
I'm here in the back. That's why I like it. You know, I like kraut.
Yes.
And I don't like mayonnaise things. And so this lovely vinegary slaws I like. It's cabbage salad.
It's cabbage salad. Yes. So that's the way we can approach this. Yeah. So this is much healthier than, I guess I could take my gloves off now. This is much healthier than any kind of mayonnaise type slaw. And it's a really nice accompaniment to any kind of Southwest foods. So now we're going to throw together a lime vinaigrette. So I've got, anytime we have a vinaigrette, just about, you know, we're going to mince up a little bit of an allium. I've got some garlic right here. So we just start by slicing that. I knew I was doing a lot of chopping, so I went ahead and took the paper off my garlic and my onions. But if you have a question about that, we've covered that a lot in some of our previous demonstrations. So you could go back to our Facebook page or our YouTube page and take a look at those. I love to pop garlic out of the paper. I love showing people that and showing people how to use fresh garlic because it's so much better than the other forms. It's just, the taste is so much better. All right, so now I've got a nice mince on this. And we are going to then, I've got a couple limes here. Your recipe has sugar in it, but today I'm subbing out some local honey just because it's delicious and it's light and it's not quite as sweet. So I'm going to do a couple lime halves. I may not need all of these, but I thought I'd cut them up just in case. That one was at a weird angle. Let's see if we can get more juice out of this one. There we go. And I think I'll stop there, actually. That should be enough. Pretty much just about a teaspoon, half to a teaspoon of honey, just to take the edge off that lime juice a little bit. And then you could add some cumin to this if you want to, but we're going to put a lot of cumin. Cumin is wonderful with squash and zucchini, so we're going to use a lot of that. I'm going to put in a little salt, a little pepper, and then I've got some extra virgin olive oil. And you can do this together, especially kids can do this part. So one can whisk, the other can maybe the older one can very carefully drizzle in the oil while the younger one whisks. And you want about 2 to 3 times the oil to however much lime juice you have. Again, there are amounts in your recipes that you can start with, but adjust it for yourself. And I just want to have enough oil in here so that it gets a little viscous. This is a very temporary emulsion, maybe another pinch of salt, and then another big pile of cilantro. You can tell I love this stuff. So again, I'm going to leave this kind of big since it's going in with the slaw. So I'm just going to cut the ribbons on that and not go to the trouble of mincing it. I'm just going to leave it in those little, well, maybe just a little. That's kind of a rough, those are some rough ribbons. We're going to mince that just a touch. And in fact, I will probably throw that in with the slaw. And then this will probably take, I usually have to tell the students, no, don't dump in all of your dressing. We will drizzle some of this over, but this may take, that's a lot of cabbage. This may take all of it. And we will stir that up, and that's it there. And this is great to go ahead and make. If you're doing a ton, then I would do the salting, crushing step way ahead of time and put your cabbage in a strainer of some sort, a colander or something, in a bowl in the fridge, and let all that water drain out. That's why your slaws get real watery. The cabbage does contain a lot of water. It doesn't seem like a vegetable that does, but then if you add onions and peppers too, you've got all that water coming out. So to crush and salt ahead really gets rid of a lot of that liquid. Now for the main event. I'm going to set the cheese aside. We will not need the cheese until we start cooking. And also with our tortillas. Now ours are flour. They come from a manufacturer in Louisville called Mija. So that's why I have these. There's also a wonderful, if you are in Lexington, there's a wonderful tortilleria called Ramirez. And it's also a restaurant, has wonderful food. So go in and have some great food, and then ask them if they have some tortillas still left available. They have a huge machine and it pumps out tiny little corn tortillas. So for flour, I'm just going to use one tortilla and have it. With the little corn tortillas, you will need two and stack them. That would be the only difference there. So I've got all kinds of sizes of squash and zucchini. The biggest thing you need to do is just get the stem off and maybe a little bit of the end. Now, these are big. Some of you may see or get or receive the little teeny tiny zucchini. Those you could probably just slice up. I'm going to have these and cut them into half moons because they're so big. And we're just probably going to need one of, I don't even know if I'm going to need an entire. I want fairly thin slices because these are going on a quesadilla.
One really interesting thing I saw was Food Chain was using their extra spiralized zucchini in their quesadillas as well. So that'd be fun too.
Yeah. So if your kids get a little overzealous when they're spiralizing for a salad or for a zoodle spaghetti or something, then you could save those for your quesadillas as well.
And it kind of hides it too with the cheese. I mean, if you have some picky eaters, it's a really nice way to sneak some vegetables in.
It's a good, yeah, cheese really helps with just about any vegetable. It's not just for broccoli. This I'll probably just we'll take the big end, and that way we can get this done. Oh, we're still good on time. All right. Cut this. Actually, I will probably quarter this so that the slices are similar in size. That way we are cooking these just a bit before we add them to the quesadilla. Just like you would any kind of meat, you put chicken or whatever you put on quesadilla. We're going to cook these a little bit ahead. And so I'm going to saute them with some garlic and onion. So we'll get that going in just a minute. Let me see here. Do we have about the same amount? Maybe one more quarter. Again, just how much you might need for your family. If you have a little bit extra, it's always good to toss in with pasta or pizza, even on a salad. I love cooked vegetables in a salad as much as I do raw. So you could throw them on there. So don't be afraid with how much you're cooking up here. It's absolutely delicious. All right, we're going to cut up. I'm just going to slice up these adorable little candy onions. So I'm just going to follow the lines that are on the onion surface. Again, if it gets wobbly, you just turn it over to the thicker side, and that way it doesn't wobble on you. And I think we'll do two because we've got a lot of squash. We want that flavor. This is also a good way to prepare squash. Just what I'm cutting up right here, onions and garlic just in a saute by itself. Or if you're fond of grilling, then you could put all of this into a foil packet. Or if you have high heat parchment, throw it in the oven. Or if you put it in foil, you can throw it on the grill and just cook all that together, and it blends and gets happy. I'm just going to slice the garlic here down to the little woody part and throw the woody part away. So that's a real thin, quick slice on that. And I'm going to throw that in its own bowl because we add that last, of course, because garlic is so prone to burning. I'm sure if you've joined us before, you've heard me say that. And then I'm going to cut my last beautiful purple pepper into julienne strips. Watch when you roll that out that you're not cutting toward yourself. So just strips here. They will cook down and get tender. I may have them. They're a little bit long. Just use your judgment. If you want a big chop on this, a big chop would be fine as well. Some people, they look to me for like, is that right? Well, you know, how does it taste to you? That's what's right. So go out and experiment and just keep using these veggies and keep trying and keep working with them in different ways. Maybe try a different kind of knife cut for each recipe you use them for. All right, so there's our pepper. We've got our garlic, we've got our onion, and we've got our squash. These are our main ingredients here. I also have, before I turn you around, I'm going to show you, I have some cumin. Now in this kitchen, we pretty much keep cumin in the seed and then we toast it and grind it as we use it. You may not have the kind of grinder we have, or you may not want to keep cleaning out your coffee grinder every time or have your coffee taste like spices. So, but this is what we like to do. We like to toast and grind our own just because, first of all, the aroma is amazing and it tastes a lot more pronounced and fresh that way. This is a little bit of oregano. If you can get your hands on Mexican oregano, that would be even better. This is just a bit dried here. We're going to use just a tiny bit of the oregano. It's minty and kind of piney, but when you use too much, it can taste a little metallic. So be very careful with oregano, especially with something acidic. That tends to increase that metallic taste. And then I have our wonderful Kentucky-made bourbon smoked paprika. It's smoked over barrel staves, and it gives it a wonderful aroma. And we're going to just sprinkle those on with some salt and pepper while we saute. I'm going to spin you around here. Hang on for a second till you can see our, I'm going to get the saute pan on. As you know, if you've been with us before, we like to get our pan hot first. Now this is just to saute all the veg. So I'm going to get that ready. Salt and pepper. So this is my mise, okay, our mise en place, getting everything in place. We're going to start with the onions and peppers. Then we'll go to the garlic, then we'll add the squash last. I had somebody ask me about how long do I cook squash? I always tend to overcook it. Well, squash and zucchini, unless they're huge, are usually pretty tender as it is. So I usually cook it till it starts to, the edges get a little soft, and you can take your spatula and kind of poke it, and your spatula goes into it. I don't like it any more tender than that. I certainly don't like it mushy. I have here an oil. Actually, Bethany, you made this oil for us. This is an achiote oil. We just put some achiote in with some extra virgin olive oil, garlic.
It's the most beautiful color too.
So achiote, it has a little bit of a flavor, a little background flavor, kind of a tea, like almost like saffron, a real floral flavor in the background. But it's super orange, and it actually is used as a coloring in some products. Like if you've ever seen a really orange cheddar, that may be annatto or achiote seeds. And then this is one way we love to infuse flavor into every layer, right? So I've got that oil. You can see how orange it is. And it looks like my pan is nice and hot. So we're gonna go ahead. You wanna go real close with the onions and the peppers. And like I said, those peppers are gonna turn green as we cook them. Now, I have my big griddle on today to finish the quesadilla. If you are doing this at home, what you may want to do right now is get an iron skillet or a large heavy bottom skillet and go ahead and preheat that right now so that you can really toast your quesadilla. You want to put it on medium heat, maybe slightly toward medium high. I've got the griddle on. If you have a temperature range, I have the griddle on about 365, maybe in between 365 and 370, because I want to get a good crisp outside on my quesadilla. All right, now I'm gonna throw in some squash and zucchini. And give that a pinch of salt, a good pinch of salt, and a tiny pinch of pepper. Now that my skillet's really full, I'm going to really use my spatula to turn everything over. All right, and now we're going to add those the garlic and all those spices. So saute the garlic another minute. My onions are starting to break down. So we're gonna go, I like a lot of cumin, even though it's a smoky spice. So I'm gonna use quite a bit. Little bit of oregano. It is a wonderful accompaniment to this, even though I am very careful with how much I use. We'll toss that. Do you see that beautiful yellow color from the achiote oil? Oh, the smell, you wouldn't believe. You're gonna wanna make this with your share as soon as you get it, just for the smell. I'm gonna do one more little toss of salt, and now we're gonna do this beautiful smoked paprika, smoked paprika. Oh yeah, and that's gonna give it a lot of depth of flavor. This is a vegetarian meal, so this is gonna give it that depth of flavor that maybe if you're trying to just eat a little less meat, if you're missing that umami or the unctuousness of meat, the smoked paprika is a great substitute to give you that. All right, we're gonna keep letting that saute just a minute more, but I'm gonna go ahead and I've got my tortillas here. I'm gonna lay one and go ahead and start toasting that on one side on the griddle, which is right next to this. Mostly more on this side. Okay, I forgot I only turned one side on, but I can feel it going. Got my tongs ready here so that I can flip it over. We're gonna toast the side we're gonna coat first and get a little bit of that charring on there. Don't forget, you know, it doesn't hurt to have that blonde side on the inside, but I love that charred flavor. And so I'm gonna put that on the inside as well. And then, so I've got a little bit of color. So I'm gonna turn that over in just a minute. Check on our squash here. Now we're starting to get translucent on the squash. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. And we can set that right here. And I'm going to flip the quesadilla over. I'm gonna put a little bit, I have some Kenny's cheddar and some pepper jack mixed. I'm gonna put that just on half and leave myself a border. And you really especially want to do this if you are using your skillet at home, because if you have cheese on the border, it's going to get out and that will stick to your pan. And then I'm adding this mixture on top of half of, and that's for the flour tortilla. If you're using teeny tiny corn tortillas, you can put it over the whole surface. But I am flipping this. Actually, I need to get a clean spatula for that. Oh, sorry, I missed a step. Put a little bit of cheese on top. You want your cheese is your glue to stick everything together. And really, you're just toasting long enough so that you get a little crispiness on the tortilla. I'm gonna move my station and bring out a clean cutting board. And our plate for all of this. Let that toast for a while. I've also got some strained yogurt. I use that in place of sour cream. And I have a couple of avocados. We're going to fix this. I'm going to fix this up right now. Avocados certainly are not local, but can't live without them. So Lily and I always talk about you have to find a balance. So I'm not going to do without coffee or tea, and I'm certainly not going to do without avocados. So, oh, that's a beautiful one. I'll show you in just a second. We're going to flip over. So again, with I think if you saw the frittata, when you flip, you have to commit. So you were going to slide our spatula underneath and flip over. And yes, oh, we've got a nice crispy side on there. So we've got our sour cream and I've got the avocado. I'm just going to slice that up. I'll spin you around back over here because that's like watching paint dry. So I'm going to cut this in the skin. I'm going to slice, just going to let the tip of my knife drag over the inside of the peel. And then I just covered up my spoon. And then you just take a spoon and scoop at that edge and scoop out your slices. Oh, these are lovely. They're going to be nice and fruity. All right. Now, I think we're good to bring our quesadilla over here. And everyone can make their own quesadilla. You can customize if people are a little sensitive to things or if they're afraid to try certain things. We're going to cut this in half. And I like to tile for plating because it looks nice. And we'll put a wee bit of our slaw on the side. This is a great way to get kids to eat cabbage. I've had kids come in, and when I have them make Ken tacos, we make tacos a lot, we make this slaw, and they're like, oh, I don't like cabbage. And then by the time we're done, they've cleaned the whole bowl out. So it's one way to get your kids used to cabbage. And now we've got our lovely fresh pico de gallo salsa. I'm going to stir this up just a little bit, and we'll do that in the middle. A little dip of the yogurt as our sour cream. The avocado on the side. And more cilantro, of course. And there we go. Fresh supper. You're just heating a couple of pans. Not too hot in the kitchen. And everybody's going to join in.
That looks amazing. Lily was just talking about before this started. She's like, I made sure that I ate something this time because every time I don't eat, I'm so hungry. And I was like, I just did the same thing and my stomach is still growling looking at that. That looks so amazing. Well, everyone, if you're just joining or if you're joining later, we have the recipes posted in the comments. So make sure that you look at those. Like I said earlier, if you want to turn your notifications on, we do this every Monday at 11, and we have some very, very awesome, exciting ones planned for the next couple of weeks, and especially in August. So stay tuned for those. And Tanya, that looks like a beautiful lunch. I'm very jealous, so enjoy that.
I'm jealous of me right now.
Yeah. But thank you so much. What do we have next week? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Next week, we don't have a special guest next week as of yet. I have not heard back, but our lineup is huge following that. We have Tanya and Philip Cronin of Kismet. You and I got to taste her steamed buns at Feast. Amazing. So they are going to be guest chefs. So Chef T gets to rest and watch someone else cook. They have a beautiful menu at Kismet. They're working out of the kitchen at the Burl. So go by and check them out. They also have a sweet potato donut.
It's oh my gosh.
That they make right there. It looks amazing. On August 3rd, we have our very own Dr. Tim Phillips. He is a wonderful plant and soil scientist who is growing all kinds of wonderful things. But the thing that he drops by to us most often is okra. So we will focus on okra. If you've got a lot of okra and you don't know what to do with it, you definitely want to join us on the 3rd. And you definitely want to join us to meet Dr. Phillips. You just got to put your hand over your heart when you say his name. On the 10th, we have our very own Bethany. She's going to be our guest chef that week. We were supposed to have a class before she graduated in May, and we didn't get to do that because of COVID. So this is how we're fulfilling all of our plans for the spring through these live streams. And then you really don't want to miss our very last one on August 17th is Chris Kane. He is a former UK basketball chef. He also was heavily involved in food chain. He taught their culinary worker program. So he's been heavily involved in our communities. And now he has his own food truck called Daughters Southern. You want to check out his Facebook page to see where he is. He cooks up his brand, sort of all of this wonderful local, regional Southern cuisine that is just makes your mouth water. So he will be our final live stream before on the day classes begin, which is August 17th.
So weird to think about. But yes, very exciting things the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So just make sure you stay tuned. And I think that's it for today.
I think that's it. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.